You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Welcome back, mamas, to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I am so glad you're here. In case you're new around here, I'm Marissa Lonick, working mama of four, founder of Mama Work It, and your host. I cannot wait to introduce you to our guest today and gain some serious knowledge about the subject of periods and productivity. So without further ado, Dr. Brooke Silberhorn, a doctor of chiropractic since 2007, founder of Thrive Chiropractic and Wellness in Ocala, Florida in 2015, is here with us today. Having triumphed over a challenging thyroid cancer diagnosis in 2014, Dr. Brooke's personal healing journey fuels her larger mission to embolden women in their pursuit of vitality and fulfillment, fostering a path for both themselves and their families to flourish. As a contributing author in The Way to Wholeness, Stories of Physical, Mental, and Emotional Healing, she shares insights from her personal healing journey. Beyond her role as a chiropractor, Dr. Brooke offers a diverse range of services to cater to your well-being. Her practice encompasses gentle chiropractic care tailored for the entire family, and she extends her expertise through in-person and online wellness consultations, thoughtfully designed to align with your needs. Her scope of offerings includes cyclical living programs designed for women and girls, specialized preconception fertility health programs, comprehensive remedy testing, intuitive life coaching, and innovative holographic manipulation therapy. Is there anything Dr. Brooke cannot do? Finally, Dr. Brooke is also our October guest expert in Biz MOMagement Club. So if you're on the fence about joining us, just know you are going to get direct access to this plethora of knowledge right here and gain even more insight about how to live your life and run your business if that's something you're doing or considering doing. We're going to link that in today's show notes if you want to join us. It is T-minus 5 days until our next cohort, so do not wait if that speaks to you. And now, Dr. Brooke, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Good. I'm excited about this topic. I am super excited. And before we dive into it, I'd love to know just a little bit more about you, your journey as a mom, chiropractor, cancer survivor, and now cyclical living expert. Tell us kind of a shortened version of this lengthy, I'm sure, journey that it's been for you.
Yeah. So I graduated from chiropractic college in 2006, and I was a mom of a 4-month-old at that time. Fast forward a few years, and I gave birth to my second daughter, and about 18 months later was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. So in that moment, I basically had to look at my life and say, okay, I need to put my oxygen mask on. Otherwise, I will not be here for those that I love and care about. And so, yeah, I have been on a healing journey ever since. My journey really informed my desire to get into preconception health, and that avenue was really what got me interested in cycle health and periods and things like that. But what was interesting is that even though I knew about periods and had learned about it in college and chiropractic college and beyond, I even taught it in as a adjunct professor for a couple of years at a nursing school. I still was just like very unaware of my own cycle and my own period and what it was doing to my body. And there was a moment in time several years ago where I was like, I just keep having this feeling of complete failure. I literally thought that the world was ending, that I sucked as a wife, as a mom, as a business owner, that I really should just close up shop and say, and just be done with it because nothing was working in my life. And I would have this feeling like once a month. And it was far enough away from my actual menstruation that I didn't put it together that was related to my menstrual cycle. And thankfully, I had a fellow chiropractor who also works in preconception health who said, hey, you should check out this book. The book was Do Less by Kate Northrup. And in it, she talks about how basically the different phases of our cycle require different things from us. So as women entrepreneurs, we can't live our lives and function as business owners the same way that men do. And that was just so life-changing for me. So then I went on a very deep dive into cyclical living, cyclical health, read every possible book that I could get a hold of that related to that topic. And it just impacted me so much that I'm like, I have to share this with other women, because if I, as a health expert, had no clue, then I'm sure your average everyday woman in business doesn't either. And so that has become an extension of my mission in life and practice.
Yeah. Oh, I love to hear those background stories. It's just so incredible to hear about other people's journeys. And I love that you mentioned that specific book. We'll link that in today's show notes in case anyone's interested in reading that. You've clearly done tons of research on this. I'm sure it's impacted your life tremendously, the lives of your patients, clients that you work with. For someone who's listening who has just heard this term, cyclical living, maybe they've never ever heard it before, never seen it before, give us just a very high level overview of what it is and what are some of the basics behind it.
So some of the basics behind cyclical living is that we know that the different phases of the menstrual cycle have different hormonal shifts, different energies that we feel in our body, that the way we move our body, the way we even nourish our bodies with food, the requirements are different. And we can even look to how we live our lives in our business and know that we're going to have more energy for certain things at different phases of our cycle. When we get to a place where we're actually menstruating, that is not the time to be going out and networking and marketing your business hard and heavy, because you don't have the energy for that. And I have come to a place where if I'm able, I don't schedule new patients. I don't schedule a lot of consultations. I definitely am not networking or doing much other than rest during that phase of my cycle. But if you come to the phase that is ovulation, that's when you are in front of people more. It's a good time for doing stuff like podcasting. Guess what? This actually hits right around the time of my ovulation. So it's perfect timing. Thank you, Marissa. And one of the reasons why, doing interviews, recording video content, launching a product, the perfect time to do all of those things is ovulation, is because you have more energy. You actually are more vibrant and better looking because of all of the hormones that are surging during this phase of your cycle. So it's fascinating to me just to think, like, as women, we are so cyclical in nature. And when we lean into that, that actually is better for business. It's better for our health. It's better for our relationships. And the more we sink into that, it's actually better for our long-term health, because when you are ovulating appropriately, that there's a whole bunch of science behind how ovulation actually impacts your heart health, your bone health, and as you age, all of those things moving from there.
Wow. Okay. When you were talking through this, I'm gonna challenge this question a little bit, or this notion a little bit, because
Okay.
I'm a cynical New Yorker at heart. I have to, right? So, okay. Let's say in a perfect world, you would coordinate all of these things to align with your cycle. But we don't live in a perfect world. And there are lots of things, especially working moms, can't always control. Work deadlines, kids' activity schedules, baby not sleeping through the night. How can you still live holistically through like this cyclical lifestyle with all these moving parts that you can't necessarily change or move?
Absolutely. So the best thing you can do is the things you can control, you plug those into your schedule according to your cycle. And the things you can't control just happen the way that they happen. But because you have determined where the things you can control go in your schedule and routine, that frees up the energy. It doesn't deplete you the way that if you were just like, everything is happening just when it happens and it doesn't matter where in my cycle. That's when we get to that place of burnout and our hormones are like slamming the brakes on you, essentially. When I was having those feelings of anxiety and defeatedness and feeling like a failure, it's actually when basically all of the female hormones are at their lowest and there's a huge dip. So lower serotonin, lower dopamine, lower estrogen, lower progesterone, all of those, they're pretty low. And it's your body's way of saying it's time to slow down. So if you month after month just push through during that time when your body is saying I need to rest, eventually it's going to really slow you down. So if you're intentional about the things that you can control, like scheduling a podcast or scheduling a networking meeting or things like that, then the things like your kids' soccer schedule is more doable because you have the energy to be able to, get through. Even just this last month, I had more new patients in a period of a week and a half than I had had in June and July, because of course summer months. And it was right during my pre-menstrual phase, like when I should be starting to slow down and feeling like, oh, I don't want to be around people as much, feeling a little bit more messy energetically. But because I had been supporting myself for so many months prior, like I had the energy to say yes to these new patients, which was a huge blessing for my business. And so I think that, it's not a hard and fast, like, I am not going to do any of these things during this phase of my cycle. I only do it, during this other phase. That's not realistic. But as much as possible, if you can dictate those things to your benefit, it will impact you months down the road.
I like that. It's like when you batch content for your social media, right? So you're not scrambling, like you're sort of batching energy or
Yes.
batching just your your mindset or your, fill in the blank, so that if and when, because it will happen, that maybe you get your period on a day you weren't expecting, or maybe you just can't shift some things around in your schedule and you do have to show up hardcore that
Yes,
week or that day. You do have that presentation or you do have that networking event and you do have to be there. At least you've got these like restored things that you can tap into, right? You're not running on empty and now you're just running on fumes on top of it.
absolutely. And the more that you do this, your period, the days of your period coming when you don't expect it are fewer and far between, to be completely honest, because like I actually have in my phone, let me see if I can pull it up, but like I like paper tracking and I also like the apps for tracking your cycle. But I have, let's see if you see the blue banner at the very top of like a whole bunch of weeks in a row? That's actually how I track my cycle, just so I can see color wise, okay, these days are when I'm in the premenstrual phase. And then I use a different color for menstruation, pre ovulation, and ovulation. So I can kind of be like, okay, so anticipating months ahead or weeks ahead, I'm going to intentionally choose not to do this during this phase or whatever.
And
And
you
the
do
more you
this
do
on your
that,
own in your Google Calendar? You just block
yeah,
different
just in my
colors?
Google
Okay.
Calendar. And it's just super basic. And then if my period is like maybe one day longer or whatever, I'll just shift things a little bit. But um, yeah, it has just created that like top of mind awareness when I am scheduling things in my calendar,
Mm-hmm.
which has
Yeah.
been really helpful.
Okay. So you have this overarching color coding sort of system, quote
Mhm.
unquote, that you created. Anybody can do this. Color code your Google Calendar. If you're irregular, you're saying the more you start tracking this, the more regular you're going to become. Like the more you start living intentionally, tapping into these cyclical weeks in what you're scheduling, what you're not, how you're showing up, noticing your energy levels, things like this. The more in tune you are, the more regular this will become for you. So, this
Yeah,
is good advice too for women who are in a phase where they're looking to get pregnant or not get pregnant. Like these are good tools to help them in that way too with fertility.
absolutely. Absolutely. The more awareness that you create around those phases, um, and supporting your body's needs with each phase is going to create a healthier cycle overall.
hmm I'm curious, did you start doing this during your recovery from the thyroid cancer? Was this helpful in you getting back to a really healthy place from that diagnosis?
So this came about probably 5-ish years after the diagnosis. So I had done a lot of healing work leading up to this, and this is just like another amazing thing that was helping in my personal healing journey. Um, I actually dealt with severe migraine headaches associated with my cycle for years, and doing a lot of the healing work that I did for the thyroid cancer had a big impact on my headaches. And then it just continued as I have leaned more into menstrual cycle health and living.
Yeah. So, besides the obvious benefits of like you feeling your best, right, when you're practicing cyclical living, intentional cyclical living, what other ways has this impacted you as a working mom in general in your life?
Oh, so many. I mean, honestly, I feel like by observation, I have realized that what we teach our daughters about their bodies is very limited, and it's almost negative. Like, I don't know if you remember when we learned about the menstrual cycle and the female body and things like that. Basically, we're just told, yeah, it sucks to be a woman, and um, you're going to be in tons of pain these days of the month, and that's just the way that it is. And the reality is that is the furthest thing from the truth. It's not normal to experience migraine headaches and cramps and all of those things. Those are signs from the body to say there's an imbalance, whether it's nutritionally or just you're not supporting your body with rest and what it needs most. So I think for me, it's been huge for my practice, but then also in my relationships with my daughters, to be able to empower them and say, it doesn't have to be the way that I experienced it growing up as a teenager and as a college student, where I was down for days because I had such severe cramps that would cause me to throw up. So, yeah, I think that it has impacted me in that way, to be able to empower young women like my two daughters. And it's impacted me in how I view myself as a mom and a business owner. I have come to a place where I just realized that my own health and well-being and self-care is more important than driving and trying to accomplish what men who don't have kids and or have a wife who is staying home with the kids, what they're accomplishing. So I don't judge myself against what male counterparts are doing. And I also find that I see patterns in myself that batch can't talk right now. Batching content is great during ovulation. Editing content is great during premenstruation. Rest is great during menstruation. And coming up with ideas for content is really great during pre-ovulation. So just as a general overview, there I have like how I am creating content in my business. And you can do the same thing for marketing. You can do the same thing for, sales cycles and whatnot. So not to say that I do it perfectly and strictly that way all the time, because like we said earlier, life happens and there are ebbs and flows in business, where sometimes you take a client or you do something that doesn't necessarily fit in that model of what you should ideally be doing according to your cycle.
I love that. My takeaway from what you just said is we got to stop comparing apples to oranges here. We got to
Yes.
stop comparing in general. Let's just get real.
Yes.
Comparisonitis is never is a good thing, but yeah, especially in that sense. And this can really apply to so many areas of life. Business for sure, but it can apply to how you're showing up as a parent. It can apply
Absolutely.
to how you're showing up oh my gosh, at maybe your day job, if you're working a 9 to 5, and sort of what you're saying yes to, where you need to set more firm boundaries, where you want to make sure that you're really shining and getting your name and your face out there for that promotion, whatever it is, even in
Yes.
your relationship, and when you're scheduling your date nights and things like that, where the conversations are going to be much lighter and happier than potentially turn into fights about little
Yes.
things that might be festering and bothering you. So I love this. I love that this can be something that we can apply to so many areas of life. Um, I know you have so much more knowledge that you can share. I know you're going to share a lot of that with us in Biz MOMagement Club in October. But for now, we got to keep our episodes to about 30 minutes. So we are going to move on to our lightning round where we're just going to ask you some random personal questions just so we can get to know you even more personally than talking about periods. Are you ready for it?
Sounds good.
Okay. So, Dr. Brooke, I am curious, what book are you reading right now?
So I tend to listen on Audible more than anything else, and
Same.
um, and I am actually reading a book um, called The Seeker's Code by Donald Epstein. He is the chiropractor that developed the specific technique that I do, and he's like just brilliant and amazing. And it is all about living your best life and expressing wholeness. And I haven't gotten very far into it, so I can't share more than that.
But non chiropractors could benefit from this book, is what
Yes,
you're saying.
absolutely.
Okay.
Anyone who just really wants more from life could benefit from that. And then on Audible, typically, again, I'm like listening to several things all at once. And I restarted, I listened to it, and then I started over again. Mastering Affluence, 6 Lessons to Create a Life You Love by Carol Tuttle.
Okay.
So I've listened to like 3 of Carol's books in the last 2 months, and
all right, you're a fan of Carol, clearly.
I love Carol. She's the lady who develops the 4 types, energy types, and basically recommends dressing your truth according to your energy type. So
okay,
yeah,
sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, we got to look into Carol here. Gotta become Carol fans.
Yes.
What if you could go on vacation tomorrow anywhere in the world? Where would it be and why?
So the first thing that popped in my head when you said that, I don't know. I don't ever consider it a vacation, but it truly is a place of rest. Is going home to visit my family in Iowa because the pace is so different there compared to, working and school and all of that stuff, juggling life. So,
Wow.
and I live in Florida, so it's easy to just run to the beach, for a day, and it feels like we're on vacation all the time. So I guess my answer, apparently, intuitively, is Iowa.
Iowa. Okay. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. What's something most people don't know about you?
Well, y'all know that I am from Iowa originally, so I can't say that. Something most people don't know about me. This is like the toughest question, Marissa. I was a cheerleader for 7 years. I cheered in high school for 3 and college for 4 years. And I was also painfully shy. So it felt like very much of a conundrum that here I am, this painfully shy person who is out in front of people. I also loved singing and drama. But what I realized is through a lot of personal healing and like child trauma type healing that the shyness was actually just a trauma response due to experiences that I had, and that I am actually like the epitome of a cheerleader energetically and in my personality. So now that I'm like expressing more of my true self, it's like, oh, I always was that way. I just didn't think I was. So.
Oh, okay. I love asking these questions because even though Dr. Brooke and I, we know each other outside of this podcast, outside of this world, I did not know this about her. Okay. And this is big news to me because I was also a cheerleader. So
Oh,
that in
awesome.
common. All right, last question, then we will wrap this up. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Well, currently it is CSI, like old episodes of CSI. So I tend to my husband and I tend to binge watch something, and we'll just watch it until there's no more episodes, and then we like find something new. But also when he's not around, because him and my daughters are just like, oh, Mom, is Hallmark type shows and movies.
Who does not love a good Hallmark movie?
Exactly. Especially the mystery ones. So I guess anything from like Hallmark movies and mysteries, and you've got me.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Dr. Brooke, please tell our listeners where they can find you and learn more about all the incredible things you do.
So my social media handles are Thrive Chiropractic Ocala, and my website is thrivewithchiro.com.
Awesome. And we will have all those linked in today's show notes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.